Hey guys, Darcy here again today with A.P.E.X the rapper. We've completed the mix on the song, and so we're here to chat about that and then the next steps. So, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So I want to jump into business, and I want to ask you, how did you like the final mix of the track? Like what kind of takeaways did you have from like the process and like now that we're done with the track?
I really was surprised with how it ended up turning out towards the end, especially with like the environment that I recorded it in and the microphone that I was using,
Mm-hmm.
considering it's a USB mic and there was a lot of like boxiness that you had to fight through before we could actually get that final mix coming through as clear as it did.
Yeah, the thing that you talk about the boxiness, the thing that's interesting too is that like we had two major recordings, right? And so the first one had different boxiness than the second one. The second one had less, which was the point. In the second one, you repositioned yourself, and that actually made me have to go back and redo the vocal chain because it was enough different in a good way. At first, I threw it into the existing vocal chain. I'm like, this sounds worse. This does not sound good. And then I was like, hold up, and it just like disabled everything. And I was like, oh, it doesn't sound worse. This is just completely the wrong chain because it's like your voice changed enough that it was almost slightly like a different person in a way. So it needed like all different like stuff to get it back to the exact same point. Yeah. So and you which microphone you using again?
The at 2020 USB.
Yeah, the AT 2020.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's got that AT 2020 as like a starting point mic, and the USB microphone is super popular because it's like that right price point. It's got decent quality. I personally am not the hugest fan, but it does overall get the job done. I For me, it's like there's different mics for rappers and singers, and singers I think feel like it totally can get away with like the 2020. Rappers have different characters to their voice that are like harder, so sometimes that mic, depending on the person, isn't always the best choice, but sometimes you can get it done. Your voice wasn't as bad as some. My voice is horrible in that microphone.
Well, I guess it's a good thing I'm soft spoken then.
Not when you rap, though, man. Not when you rap. Not trust me. But in terms of like the track, anything that like about it that was just like like a standout for you that you're really excited about.
Standout for me, a lot of it came down to just your actual the work that you put in, especially with all the like doubles and echoey effect kind of things, because we talked about it a bit, and I was like, I really like the like Absol effects, the Easy Mac effects type of thing, but I really like the token flow and lyricism and overall structure of how he puts things. So I felt myself falling somewhere in the middle of that where I'd have like a lot of like token type choppy rhythms and schemes and whatnot, a lot of like punchline stuff, but also a lot of like doubles and echoey effect type things going on.
Yeah, and like it was very clear to me once I heard like the reference track. I'm like, yeah, that just like those kinds of doubles and echoes and like pitched up, pitched down vocals are gonna work really really well. Because when you have like something where you rap for an extended period of time, so it's not like your standard 16 bar verse and a chorus and 16 bar verse. You're gonna do like a longer freestyle type style. Then you have to almost apply what I like to say is like EDM rules, where EDM and like dance and stuff like that, they have like every 4 bars something has to change because otherwise it gets boring really quickly. So with that like longer rap format, right? Back in the day, people can get away with it, and sometimes a track is so dope, you just just the way the vibe is, you just let it go. But a lot of times you need to keep changing up the track to make it really really interesting to like catch people's attention, and to keep them going through all the bars and stuff like that. Because it's about not just capturing like the hardcores, but also trying to capture other people who just casually listen and just want to be like ear candy entertained. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
it was a perfect kind of track to do all that, which is fun for me because then I get to flex my like mixing muscles. So Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So now that the track is done, I wanted to ask you, or I think you have some questions for me. Is like, what are you thinking for next steps, or what questions do you have in terms of taking the next step?
So as far as like next steps overall for like music stuff in general, I'm wanting to eventually branch out and start putting stuff on Spotify. And I was thinking that since this is like the first actually mixed, mastered, put together track that I've done, other than just rap over the top of something and throw it out there, that this would be like a good starting point. But there was also this was supposed to be part of like a three-part series for Bar Heavy, and there was also supposed to be a three-part series for myself. So I'm like talking about seeing having a great time, feeling myself
Sure. One
like
sec, you're
series.
breaking up a little bit. Just gonna pause. That Skype audio is just never a friend when you get too into a long phrase. So you're thinking about, this is supposed to be part of a three-part series you were talking about. What were you saying after that part?
Bar Heavy would be like a hype, bouncy, I'm feeling good type of three-part series, and then Feeling Myself would be like a more slow, depressing three-part series. And I was wanting to put them both together onto an album and then release all of that at once, like those two little three-part series, and then just a few extra tracks to kind of fill it up and make it like a full album. But so I was wondering about whether or not I would drop that preemptively as like the first thing, or wait and save it until I had like 12 or so songs and then put together an album together.
Yeah. So whether or not it cut up a little bit, but I got what you're saying. Whether you should put it out now, or wait till you have everything all together. And I will say that, like, so I'm not the marketing expert on these matters, and I'm still like learning myself. But I will say that, like, for everything that I've studied and stuff that I'm planning to do myself, I'm a believer that in today's world, that even recently the CEO of Spotify like made a statement that it's about consistency and frequency, or in other words, like how often. And so I'm a believer that, especially if I haven't actually seen like your entire like following numbers and stuff like that, but I would go preemptive with the drop, and then include it in like the final project. And you could even go, like, let's say getting to the final project takes 6 months, right? You drop this one, you build up, you drop another one, and then and then at most maybe drop the third one, and then you drop the remainder of the project, right? You're kind of trying to build momentum, regardless if that's the exact plan or if it's a different plan, right? You drop one, and one like 2 months later and whatever. The idea is that the more frequent you can drop stuff, and the more you're building momentum, and you want to try to build momentum. So the like if you look at someone like Russ, who has done that whole thing of releasing one track every week, and then did that for like a year or so. I'm not exactly sure how long. Pause for a bit, and then it's coming back out and doing it again, right? Like his whole thing is like building momentum, constantly getting more fans, more fans, more fans, and then they're getting into his catalog and checking everything out. And at the end of the day, it's like it is going to be a volume game. So I say, personally, I would say drop it as a single. Let promote that while you're working towards a project, and then try to be building fans towards building the project, right? And you're kind of setting like an anticipation of like what the project's going to kind of be like. That's where I sit. At the end of the day, though, it's your choice. You're the artist, and it's like what you feel is best for you. Because some people want to creatively, do the Kendrick Lamar and keep everything a secret, and then drop everything at once. But the one thing to keep in mind is that Kendrick Lamar has a huge following. So when you keep everything secret and then drop it, you have to have people who are ready to listen when you drop it. If you don't have a lot of people ready to listen, then you just gotta drop stuff and promote. So what are your thoughts? I just said a lot of stuff, but what are you thinking?
I mean, logically speaking, that makes a lot of sense. And if you look at my numbers on YouTube, for example, You'll see where my views would be like 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 600, 600. And then I'd take like a 3, 4 month break. And then I come back, it's like 100 to 150, 200, 300, 400, go back up and just it repeats the cycle. That's kind of just how I do things because I'd get caught up in the middle of like moving somewhere or doing something else for a little while. I wouldn't be able to release frequently.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that the whole YouTube game too, in of itself, consistency with YouTube is a whole other thing. I struggle with that. My followers already know that problem. So, yeah, I like the most logical thing is yes, consistency. At the end of the day, you still be your choice how you want to drop it. But if I were to say like where we should go, I would drop the single and let that, and then work to promote that while you're building out towards the actual project you want to drop. So, have you thought about, or do you have the have you looked into how to drop it to Spotify? I'm quite familiar with like the different avenues you can take, but I'm curious. Do you know how to release stuff to Spotify and other platforms?
So I'm aware of like a couple services that'll distribute things to Spotify for you,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm only really aware of those because of like features I've done with people and they kind of set all that up on their own. I've not actually like dealt with it or tried really.
Yeah. What ones have the people you've worked with set up?
Oh geez, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I can check my Instagram real quick and
I can tell you,
find it
I can
though.
tell you a few, in my own experience, but I don't know everything about all of them. So the one that I primarily use is DistroKid. Now, there's been some stuff
That
and some YouTube videos coming out recently talking about like people not trusting it and whatnot. I don't have any depth of information there. I don't have the volume of plays to have worried about the numbers that people are talking about, but the one reason why I like DistroKid, and it's the only reason I haven't found any others that do it quite yet, but I'm sure there's one. And if anyone sees this video and knows of a different service that does this, drop that comment because I want to know. But the DistroKid does splits. And what I mean by that is when the money comes in, they automatically split it by the percentage that you agree on. Now, you being the person who releases a song. So if I release a song and you're my feature, then I will invite you to accept a portion of that money. But the one thing that is weird about their system is like if I decide I want to change that, then I can just change it, and you'll lose that percentage. Now, obviously, that's coming down to like everyone being good and doing good things by their business, but it's something to know. The reason why I like that is for especially for independents, you don't want to be like calling up the other guy and being like, "Hey, where's my 25%? Where's my 50%?" You just want to be having that conversation. It's better just the money is split and it just goes into your thing and you don't talk about it. And the other ones I've used, or the only other one I've used is Lander, which they do the mastering service. And the only big difference between the two, other than the fact it doesn't do splits, is that it's cheaper. That's about it. I only say it would be really good if you are not splitting the money with anybody. Um, the thing that I would say is like in this scenario with this track, you're taking 100%, because it's you the licensing on the beat said so, and you're the only artist. But thinking about your long term, right? If you plan to collaborate a lot, then I would look at like a DistroKid or any other one of them that can do that money split piece. There are still many others like Untitled Masters. It has one. Then there's TuneCore, which has you have to pay money per every individual song that gets released or every album that gets released. It's more expensive, but apparently they pay weekly instead of like once every 3 months, which is what most of them do. They pay like once a quarter. A lot of them are slow because they work off old music industry rules. But at the end of the day, you can kind of like just look and see. Only thing I just suggest is like basically DistroKid has that one thing that matters, and then you kind of like stack everything else up against it and see kind of what works for you. And you can always like release some songs on one and some songs on another, worst case scenario. So questions from that, because I know I ramble.
No, I mean I've looked into Lander a little bit just because of the mastering thing, but I never actually. Does it have like a preview thing on it? Like you can upload your track and then check it out without actually
Yeah.
I think I looked at it and I checked out the preview just to see how the mixing was on it, but I never actually used it. And
Yeah.
then as far as DistroKid goes, I'm pretty sure that's just what they were using because we had like 7 people on a big cipher.
Yeah. And they didn't want to do the splits. You know, like they didn't want to be like, hey, hit me up every 3 months and I'll send you the money. Like, no one wants to do that.
Yeah.
Unless you're at a record label and that's your job. But yeah, Lander, by the way, on that the mastering thing, it's like it's only for mastering, and it means you have to do a good mix. And I've in the years ago in the past when my mixing was worse, I'd put mixes into there and I didn't like the quality that came out, and I had to learn over time that it was like, well, it's not so much Lander as in that it's more me. It's like I'm not doing a good enough mix. So when Lander does their job, it does a good job, but it squashes the hell out of it because I didn't set my mix up right. So it ends up sounding like crap. That's something to know, is that like if you put bad into it, you're not going to get good out of it. So yeah. What other questions do you have? I feel like you had a few more.
Uh, as far as that goes, you were mentioning how Spotify and YouTube are just completely different beasts in and of themselves. Um, as far as the YouTube thing specifically goes, I was wanting to do more like I want to actually get into doing videos
Yeah.
rather than just audios for songs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any background or reference in that.
In terms of, are you talking about like, um, I don't know the word for this. So there's obviously music videos, but then there are
Mhm.
also um, everything from just audio and a picture to audio and like some kind of visual animation. What between full out music video and audio and with a picture? What are you getting at? I'm just not quite sure.
More along the lines of like full out music video.
Mm,
It seems like if you look at pretty much any artist, a full out music video gets way more plays just by having the video.
yeah, I feel like
But
yeah. Go on.
like Spotify, you don't do music videos. That's just not a thing. So would it potentially be smarter for me to just move everything over to Spotify and keep branching out like with that primarily versus with YouTube primarily?
I feel like, and this is like again a place where we're all learning until one of us has 100,000, 200, 300, 400,000 plays on something, and we start and we knew how we got there. We're all kind of learning, but I feel like not every platform from a music perspective it has always the same audience. So yes, I think a lot of people will go from YouTube to Spotify or YouTube to Apple Music. But there are some people who do all of their music listening through or through YouTube, like the YouTube Music, where you actually pay for the YouTube Music. I know some people who that like the YouTube Music. They that's how they consume music for a long period of time, and they love it. So there's like a hardcore YouTube Music audience who doesn't like Spotify and doesn't like Apple Music. Like I've talked to people who are like, I just do not like Apple everything they do. I do not like Spotify everything they do. So there's some people who are core to the YouTube audience, but I also believe that YouTube, if you think, before all the internet started going crazy for music, there's still people who are going to be like, it's like going from MTV to listening to your CD at home. And I think there's still going to be people who are going to listen to or watch a YouTube video and then go, I like this song, and then download it to one of whatever their preferred platform is, like whether it's Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, and consume it on the go. I don't think that it's going to be one or the other is really the answer. I think it's all. And to say that there's different audiences like hardcore audiences in each one that are like, I only listen on Spotify, I only listen on YouTube Music, I only listen on Apple Music. Is just to say that like if you don't get on one of the major platforms, then you're also potentially losing out on the people who don't go to any other platform. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah, there are people who are pigeonholed, and there are people who go back and forth between the two. Like most people, I feel like go between YouTube and everything else. But I kind of personally, I don't watch a lot of music videos. I watch. I just try to consume a lot through like Spotify, Apple Music, and I consume a lot by finding stuff and finding an artist, and then going into it. I find new artists through YouTube, ironically, but I don't watch every music video just because I like to sometimes consume the music in my own head and just not have their visuals predict how I experience the music. You know, sometimes it's just better to like imagine it yourself. So sometimes I just avoid music videos just because I want to like experience the music my own way. If that makes sense.
I got you.
Yeah. What are you thinking you want to do? And in terms of music video, do you have like plans, or do you still have like a lot of questions around music videos themselves?
So I have questions about music videos and whatnot, but that it seems like most of those questions would be geared towards me actually finding someone who shoots music videos and hitting them up,
Yeah.
someone local preferably because I can't drive. Haha. Um,
Well,
as far as the YouTube versus Spotify thing, it's probably pretty accurate. Yeah, post on everything and just hope it blows up somewhere, and then it just drags people from one thing to the next.
yeah, I think it's going to be the case. I mean, when you distribute these services, they do go everywhere. Even DistroKid creates these like YouTube videos on these like random channels for you that pull in ad revenue. Um, but that separate, you'd still upload your own music video separately. Um, I'm sure you won't have a hard time finding people who do music videos in California.
Probably not. I might right now during the whole Corona thing, but
Fair. In general, everyone's gonna have a hard time right now, but in general, finding people with cameras is not gonna be that hard in that state of all places. One thing I would suggest in terms of music videos, just to get yourself like educated, because I feel it's good to know a bit about what goes into them, so you can better speak the language and better figure out how to say like what you want to somebody, so that way you know don't talk to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, or you know you say one thing and they think it's, you know, you say red and you get blue, right? You know, there's a guy called YC Imaging on YouTube. He does like a lot of these tutorial videos on how to make music videos for guys who want to, you know, or who are on the come up and like, you know, trying to become good music video like creators. And so I like looking at someone like him, learning from him, and then you can also like go into the comments and you probably find people in the comments, like, because they're all probably, a lot of them make music videos, so that's also kind of a way to like find people. You went.
very interesting.
Yeah, but at minimum, like, you know, if you're ever gonna hire something and I don't know if you have experience hiring some videographers. I don't have a lot of experience myself, but I definitely spend time like researching like what that what it's like to be in that role, and then that way, you know, when we connect, I can speak some of that language, because you know it always sucks when you're like, well, I kind of want something that feels like, kind of looks like, kind of, and you're like, you just don't know how to say anything, and then you kind of get what you want, but you kind of don't because you just didn't learn any of the like words that you need to use. So, just watching those videos can sometimes help. So,
Gotcha. I'm gonna be typing up names of services and people and whatnot after this,
yeah,
so that I don't just have my phone in front of my face this whole time.
yeah, it's all good. No, you know, I'll send you the link to to YC Imaging, and so you can check them out directly. Whether stuff that you are thinking in terms of like releasing the track.
In terms of releasing the track, I think that was about it. It was just distribution stuff, the when and the where mostly.
Sounds good. Yeah. talked about Spotify, YouTube. When should we release it? I'm trying to think if there's anything specific that um, we that we're not covering here. I mean, album artwork, something to think about. I don't know if you have somebody for that. If not, I mean, I know people, but there's also affordable options like Fiverr as well, to hook up an album cover. If you're going the Fiverr route, I'm a big believer in find somebody who's already made an album cover that looks kind of like what you want. Don't hire random people. Don't hire people who like don't have a track record of making something that looks like what you want, because I'm gonna guarantee you they're not gonna make what you want. So pretty straightforward. Yeah, that's kind of like the majority of it. I mean, you can also put your lyrics up on Genius if you want to go there, and that way you can like catalog what everything means. But for somebody who's lyrical, it's kind of a fun thing to do.
I can also just check my Instagram DMs and find any of the 100 people who've hit me up and been like, "Oh, you need artwork? Here you go."
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, I mean, 100% check out their profiles, but the same rule applies. If they don't have a history of making stuff that looks like what you want, don't. Just people all the time be like, well, he said he could do it. And I'm like, of course he said he could do it. You said you were gonna pay him.
Well, yeah.
So like, it doesn't matter if the guy just bought Photoshop or just cracked Photoshop and has no experience with what he's doing. He's gonna say yes because you said you were gonna pay him, and he said he was gonna charge you $20, and the actual person who knows what they're doing would charge you $100. Like, just yeah, I'm just a big fan of like, find somebody who's done what you want it to look like, and then talk to that person, because everybody else probably doesn't know how to do it. So
it's pretty accurate.
I've seen it enough times where you go through like these revisions, and the first couple ones are so wildly not what you want, and you kind of get what you want by the end. And I just hired a guy to design my website, and I make websites, and I've been in that world for years. And I'm very I'm finding a designer who makes exactly like what I want. I found a guy, paid him, and it was like pretty much perfect in the first round. It's like, because it's what he does. It's like I didn't ask him to do anything he can't do. So it's like not gonna be that hard for him to get it right. Yeah, I think we kind of covered like the good majority of things, and I'll be there to assist in terms of like getting stuff distributed. I'm trying to think if there's stuff inside of DistroKid that you need. Obviously, you have the audio file. You have to get your naming of things correct and stuff like that. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward to distribute like a single song, and yeah. That'll be pretty much it. And then when we have that set up, then we'll link all that stuff back into this YouTube series so that everyone will be able to find the track and listen to it, on whatever platform that they prefer, because that's what they're gonna do. So, but if any other questions from yourself?
I don't think so.
All right. Then this has been a dope experience. And hopefully you've found this experience dope as well. I enjoy working on the track 100%.
I enjoyed hearing what I sounded like, especially after the thing, because I remember sending it to you and being like, "I think that sounds a little better." Ooh, and then you sent it back, and I was like, "Okay, I'm embarrassed."
What do you mean?
Like, I've just been doing it normal for so long, and then I'm like, I could have just been doing this the whole time, but apparently not.
This the whole time by what like mixing, or the way it was recorded? Like I'm just trying to pick out what you mean.
It was like I could have been having my stuff mixed, and I could have sounded like this for a while now. Why have I been putting things out?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Until you've heard yourself mixed and mastered, it's, you don't really know. And the thing I've learned, like the better I've gotten mixing over the years, the more I've learned. In the last, I want to say 6-9 months, I have this thing in my head where I keep saying I'll get a song, and I'm like, I'm gonna find the song in the song, and it's super. I've had a bunch of times where I've mixed a vocal, and I got the vocal, and I was like, oh, this does not sound good. I don't think this artist is gonna be that good. And then I mixed it, and I was like I think it was like 9 months ago, around that time, I started having this realization, and like I made them sound way better, right? That's the goal. I mean, like I'm not trying to not make them sound good, but I was like, this person sounds way better now that I've got everything laid out than with the way it was recorded. And I was like, there's a lot of people who just like they've given a good performance, but it's not mixed well enough, and they just don't. People are not going to know how much talent that person actually has at this stage. And so yeah, it really shows a lot to like what what the actual performance you're putting in is. So yeah, but I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be like nearly impossible for you to want to hear yourself unmixed anymore.
I figure.
Yeah, once you hear it one way, you can't hear it that way. So, and then it's just about improving it and doing better and getting better recordings, and just always trying to like do more with it. So, but yeah, I think that's it for now. I think we'll wrap up here. But yeah, again, like I said, it's been super dope doing this, and I'm looking forward for everyone seeing the final track come out and for them to bump it. So that's it for me. Say peace out to the guys, man.
I like turtles.
Always trying to be fun with it, man. All right, peace, everybody.